This footage from June of 1942 shows Reichsminister Rosenberg arriving in Riga and being greeted by Gauleiter Lohse. It fits in well with today's video, which is the first in a series that will cover the German occupation of the Ukraine. Using an original periodical, maps, and film footage, I'll talk about today's topic, which is agricultural policy. This beautiful map gives an overview of the German fight against partisans from November to December of 1942. Although this is not the content that we are focusing on, the map serves well to show the political boundaries set up of the Eastern territories. Reichsminister Alfred Rosenberg, Nazi Germany's chief racial theorist, was officially responsible for managing the combined occupied territories in the East. Hinrich Lohse was a Reichskommissar for Reichskommisariat Ostland, which included Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Belarus. Erich Koch was Reichskommissar for the Reichskommissariat of the Ukraine. This is a complete collection of the periodical Die Deutsche Polizei for 1942, which was published for members of the German security services, including the SS, SD, and Gestapo. Since it was published exclusively for members of these organizations, it's an outstanding historical source. These periodicals are extremely rare and on the open market currently cost around €100 and up. This is a good moment to thank my Patreon supporters. Without their support, producing these videos wouldn't be possible. If you are not yet a supporter, please consider becoming one. Also, go to my website military1945.com and open a free account to see an example of some exclusive film footage. The article about agricultural policy in the Ukraine is what we are looking at today, but the photo and caption in the middle is important historically and terribly ominous. It shows a ceremony in Prague celebrating the renaming of a bank of the Moldau River after Reinhard Heydrich, the man who was made responsible for carrying out the final solution, who had been assassinated on June 4th of 1942. In the front to the right we see Heydrich's widow, and to the left his mother. During the speech, State Secretary Frank spoke of the Blutschuld, or blood guilt, that the entire Czech population will continue to carry for having taken part and allowing the killing to take place until his work is brought to a conclusion. All of this we'll get to in future videos. This two-page article covers the agricultural policy of Nazi Germany in the Reichskommissariat, Ukraine. It's presented by a correspondent from the perspective of the security forces being asked to carry out the policy on the ground. While this related raw footage taken in the Ukraine in 1943 runs, I'll give a condensed translation of the article. As far as the eye can see is flat steppeland, converted into agricultural fields of sunflower and corn. The process of bringing the harvest in is moving slowly, and the police inspector, who has already learned some Ukrainian, speaks with the laborer in charge. Again, there aren't enough workers present. Are they sick, or do they simply prefer to rest? That needs to be checked. Most of the Ukrainians are willing and used to working, but some believe that after working for a few days in the week that they've done enough. They're not motivated, believing that a few bags of wheat, corn, and sunflower are enough to make it through the winter. The war, now far away, has passed them by. They don't fully understand that the high demand being put on them is because of the war. Much of the tractors and machinery has either been destroyed by the Soviets or carried away, so much of the heavy work must be done by oxen. Often using the sickle and scythe, The pick and shovel is necessary. There are some horses, but they are needed to transport the grain or are being used to repair the most important roads. Police inspectors have been spread out among the most important collective farms and spend most of their day traveling from one location to the next. They inspect the production, ensure the regular transport of the product, and are constantly faced with challenges that need to be overcome. Personally responsible for the results, they have managed to raise productivity impressively. Sometimes it's necessary to deal with the laborers firmly, to shake them from their lethargy and disinterest. The Soviets didn't take the time. They had other methods. They simply sent them to Siberia, and that was that. There are plenty of eggs, but there is a complete lack of fruit and vegetables. The farmers have no understanding of the small home garden. They have no salad, cauliflower, spinach, and no beans. The food here is just as monotonous as the landscape. In the cities, the food is more difficult to come by than in the countryside where it is produced. The laborers show up and try to sell foodstuff on the black market at outrageous prices, using the dark of night as cover. This practice goes against the regulated markets and price controls and must be stamped out. The only person the police inspector can really rely on is the German agricultural manager that they've been assigned. The agricultural manager is responsible for managing the operation locally. He is responsible for 6 to 10 collective farms which take up an area from 25,000 to 75,000 acres. In Germany, the role of the agricultural manager would be divided among a team of individuals, but here it is just one person. Their only support is one ethnic German Ukrainian who translates. Originally, there were only a few hundred inspectors for all of the Ukraine who made sure that production made its way to the German Reich. Although there are now thousands of agricultural police inspectors, when considering the area being managed, there are still not enough. This problem can only truly be resolved when tens of thousands of German farmers and settlers arrive with their German diligence and health. When the restraints of the war have been lifted, the Ukraine will finally achieve its potential, making Germany and all of Europe completely self-sufficient. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe.